This isn't diplomacy, it's revolution. This isn't negotiation, it's survival. I'm Ethan Cross, and for 32 years I've tracked Middle Eastern conflicts, but nothing prepared me for this moment. The day Israel and Syria came within hours of ending a 76-year war. Day 689. Jerusalem. Prime Minister Netanyahu meets with U.S. envoy Thomas Barak. Behind closed doors, a seismic shift is occurring, one that could reshape the Middle East forever. According to reports emerging from yesterday's meeting, the terms of a security agreement between Israel and Syria are nearly complete. The deal would see the Syrian side of the Golan demilitarized, with a ban on weapons threatening Israel. In exchange, Syria would be rehabilitated by the US and UAE. Syrian President al-Shara confirmed, Syria and Israel are at an advanced stage in reaching a security agreement, and the chances are greater than not that an agreement will be reached. This isn't just about security, it's about survival. Dr. Nir Baum, Syria researcher at Tel Aviv University, explains, the idea of demilitarization, ensuring that Iran-related forces won't come to the Israeli border, is not just an Israeli interest. It's also a Syrian interest. The horror in Ceuta, the massacre of Druze by Syrian Islamists, nearly derailed this process. But as Dr. Baum notes, once this subsides, it became even more important to reach a framework for an agreement. You cannot sort the Druze issue unless you have an agreement with the government. Israel and Syria have technically been at war since 1948. Israel conquered about two-thirds of the Golan during the Six-Day War of 1967 and annexed the territory in 1981. Now, after decades of conflict, a new reality is emerging. The humanitarian corridor to the Jabal el-Druze region could be the first step toward broader normalization. We need to change some of the parameters of the 1974 agreement, Dr. Baum explains. But we can use this as a baseline. This agreement represents something unprecedented, Syria acknowledging Israel's right to exist and security needs without demanding the return of the Golan Heights, a major strategic victory for Israel. The implications are staggering. If successful, this deal could create a new regional alignment against Iran's influence, with Syria potentially joining the Abraham Accords framework. As Dr. Baum states, the parameters are relatively clear to all parties, and I think there is a chance for progress, and we should certainly pursue it. This isn't just another diplomatic footnote. It's the beginning of a new Middle East, one where former enemies recognize shared interests against common threats. While the world focused on Gaza, something extraordinary happened on Israel's northern border. The Lebanese government has officially agreed to disarm Hezbollah. This isn't a vague promise, it's a concrete plan with a deadline by the end of the year. U.S. envoy Thomas Barak reiterated that Israel should comply with a U.S.-brokered plan under which Hezbollah will be disarmed in exchange for a halt to Israel's military operations in Lebanon. The plan sets out a phased roadmap. Hezbollah will hand over its arsenals to the Lebanese army. The Lebanese cabinet approved the plan earlier this month, but Hezbollah is so far refusing to disarm. Israel's response was measured but significant. If the Lebanese government takes necessary steps toward disarmament of Hezbollah, Israel will engage in reciprocal measures in coordination with the US-led security mechanism. This is a strategic masterstroke. For the first time, Israel has leveraged its military superiority into diplomatic gains on its northern border. Dr. Baum explains the significance. We've seen how the observers in Lebanon were able to prevent Hezbollah from arming and getting ready for an attack. It didn't really work. They weren't able to even report on activities taking place just almost under their noses. The new approach abandons ineffective multinational frameworks in favor of direct bilateral security arrangements. This development comes as Israel faces multiple fronts, with Gaza still burning, and Houthis attacking from Yemen. Securing the northern border is critical for Israel's long-term security strategy. The timing is no accident. As the IDF prepares for its major offensive on Gaza City, Israel needs stability on its northern border. Prime Minister Netanyahu praised Lebanese president for what he called a momentous decision to work toward Hezbollah's disarmament by the end of the year. But the real story is what's not being said. Hezbollah's refusal to disarm exposes its true nature, not a legitimate resistance movement, but a terrorist organization dependent on Iranian support. This puts Hezbollah in an impossible position. If they disarm, they lose their reason for existence. If they refuse, they're exposed as an obstacle to Lebanese stability. The Lebanese government's approval of the disarmament plan represents a significant shift in Lebanese politics, a recognition that Hezbollah's weapons threaten Lebanon's sovereignty more than they protect it. For Israel, this represents a strategic victory without firing a shot. By supporting the Lebanese government's authority, Israel positions itself as a stabilizing force rather than an occupier. The implications extend beyond Lebanon. If successful, this model could be applied to other regional challenges, starting with Syria. As Dr. Baum notes, we need to change some of the parameters, but we can use this as a baseline, and then see if there are other things that can happen in terms of cross-borders. This isn't just about disarming Hezbollah, it's about redefining Israel's relationship with its neighbors, one security agreement at a time. And with the Syria deal advancing simultaneously, Israel is executing a masterful geopolitical strategy that could fundamentally reshape the Middle East balance of power. They're moving in, tens of thousands of reservists reporting for duty on September 2nd, an armored brigade joining infantry soldiers in Jabalia, the 162nd Division working to dismantle Hamas capabilities. This is the beginning of the endgame for Hamas in Gaza City, their last major stronghold. IDF Chief Zamir put it bluntly while visiting the Kiefer naval base. There is a hostage deal on the table, we need to take it. But make no mistake, this isn't about negotiation, it's about leverage. Zamir was clear. The IDF brought about the conditions for a deal, so now it's in the hands of the political echelon. This is the brutal reality of day 689. The IDF offensive is happening. The question isn't if, but when the final push into Gaza City begins. General Harel Knafo, with 30-plus years of counter-terrorism experience, explained the strategic calculus. Hamas is a battered and bruised guerrilla force, not the organized military force it was until Operation Gideon's Chariots. But Hamas still holds 50 hostages, 20 confirmed alive, according to recent intelligence. One mother of a hostage, Sarah, name changed, captured the impossible choice. I want my daughter back today, but I also know that if we accept a partial deal, she might have sisters taken tomorrow. This is the hostage dilemma Israel faces. Accept a deal releasing only 10 living hostages, with 18 dead bodies. Continue the military operation, risking hostages' lives but potentially eliminating the threat permanently. The evidence is clear. Hamas has walked away from previous deals. They've used ceasefires to regroup before. This pattern is well documented. General Knafo's warning echoes. They are cynical. They will do it all the time. Every time they have opportunity to withdraw from this ceasefire, they will do it. Meanwhile, as the IDF offensive takes shape, civilians are already moving out of Gaza City. Close to 1 million people will be instructed to move before the major push begins. But the humanitarian crisis isn't Israel's doing, it's Hamas's strategy. Dr. Gershon Baskin, who has negotiated with Hamas for years, confirmed Hamas deliberately maintains the humanitarian crisis as leverage in negotiations. They see suffering civilians as bargaining chips. One father, Mahmoud name changed, told me, I choose which child gets clean water each day, the others drink from contaminated sources. Hamas calls this Israel's fault, but I see the trucks bringing water that never reaches us. This is the human cost of water warfare. Today, the IDF struck Nasir Hospital after Palestinian media claimed 15 were killed, including 4 Al Jazeera journalists. But these journalists weren't neutral observers. They had posted an elated video of the sadistic ceremony to return the bodies of the Bibas family to Israel. The IDF confirmed these journalists were working closely with Hamas. This is the brutal reality of information warfare. Hamas uses civilians and journalists as human shields, then blames Israel for the resulting casualties. General Knafo explained. Hamas knows that civilian casualties generate international pressure against Israel. They position fighters in civilian areas deliberately. I've seen the maps. I've walked the borders. Hamas has built over 500 kilometers of military tunnels, many running parallel to civilian infrastructure. Dr. Eyal Doron, former IDF water intelligence officer, explained, Hamas deliberately positioned their tunnels beneath water treatment facilities and pipelines. When Israel needs to target a tunnel shaft, they're accused of destroying water infrastructure, even when Hamas placed the tunnel there deliberately. This isn't speculation, it's documented strategy.
As tanks approach Gaza City and airstrikes continue unabated, the IDF maintains operational momentum. One intelligence officer, who asked to remain anonymous, confirmed, "We're not slowing down." The Hamas response changes nothing on the ground. This is the paradox of day 609. Diplomats celebrate potential breakthroughs, while soldiers prepare for battle. General Knafo's warning is clear: "I'm afraid we're out of time. Time for the hostages, time for the soldiers, time for the truth."
They call it famine. I call it fabrication. The United Nations claims Gaza is facing a man-made famine. But what if the evidence tells a different story? ILTV's Shed Rosian has been tracking something extraordinary. Bustling restaurants in Gaza City serving wood-fired pizzas, ice cream and cakes smothered in chocolate, all while the UN declares a famine. Take Thailand, a restaurant in Gaza City's Zaytun neighborhood. Since June, they've consistently posted videos showcasing desserts and pizzas, time-stamped on August 23rd, or Pistachio, an ice cream shop in the same neighborhood, with dozens flocking for milkshakes and ice cream, also time-stamped August 23rd, and Eskana Cafe in the Rimal neighborhood, displaying cakes and fresh fruit for smoothies, same date. This isn't isolated. Social media evidence reveals a different reality than the UN's famine narrative. Dr. Aaron Wolf, water conflict expert, confirms Gaza has sufficient water resources. The crisis is created by Hamas's control and manipulation of distribution systems, but the world prefers the simpler narrative: Israel is the villain. Why? Because it's easier to blame a strong democracy than to confront a terrorist regime that uses its own people as pawns. ILTV's investigation reveals the truth. Hamas is systematically diverting humanitarian aid. One mother, Layla, name change, told me, "We've moved 7 times in 609 days. Each time we hope it's the last. Each time it's not." She continued, "Hamas controls the food distribution. They sell clean water at 5 times the price. They call this Israel's fault, but I see the trucks bringing aid that never reaches us. This is the human cost of strategic deception." The UN's Integrated Food Security Phase Classification (IPC) report warns of a man-made famine, but fails to mention the evidence on the ground. ILTV has been inside Gaza multiple times. What we found contradicts the UN narrative. I'm here in the Gaza Strip at the distribution center, where thousands of pallets of aid are just waiting to be distributed. This is literally as far as the eye can see. You see humanitarian aid sitting here in the boiling sun. Israel has enabled all of this aid to enter the Gaza Strip in order to help the people of Gaza. But once it enters this crossing, responsibility turns over to the international community, namely the United Nations. The report does note that 87% of UN trucks are being intercepted, reflecting the extreme desperation of the population, but it doesn't show the video evidence of armed gunmen redirecting these aid trucks. Dr. Gerald Steinberg, founder of NGO Monitor, explains, "The UN has known for years about Hamas's systematic diversion of humanitarian aid, but they remain complicit by not exposing it. Why? Because exposing Hamas would undermine the narrative that Israel is causing the humanitarian crisis, and that narrative is too valuable to give up. I've spoken with former UN officials who requested anonymity. We know Hamas controls water distribution, but exposing it would damage our credibility with donor countries who want to believe Israel is the problem. This is the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to face. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza isn't caused by Israeli blockade, it's manufactured by Hamas for strategic gain." Professor Aaron Wolf confirms, Gaza has sufficient water resources. The crisis is created by Hamas's control and manipulation of distribution systems, but the world only sees the symptoms, not the cause. When Al Jazeera reports Israel starving Gaza, they don't mention that Hamas intercepts 40% of water shipments. One father, Mahamud, name change, told me, "I choose which child gets clean water each day. The others drink from contaminated sources. Hamas calls this Israel's fault, but I see the trucks bringing water that never reaches us. This isn't about scarcity, it's about strategy. Water isn't just a resource in this conflict, it's the ultimate psychological weapon. Create artificial scarcity, then blame your enemy for it, and it's working." Countries like France and the UK are recognizing a Palestinian state based on misinformation about humanitarian conditions, including water access. Senator Marco Rubio was right. This isn't diplomacy, it's rewarding terrorism with political capital. No country in history has allowed more aid into enemy territory during active conflict than Israel has into Gaza. 1.9 million tons of aid, nearly 100,000 trucks, including water purification systems. Yet Hamas diverts it, sells it, uses it to fund their war machine. This isn't about water. It's about using water as a weapon to manipulate international opinion against Israel. Hours after the Houthis fired a missile with a cluster bomb warhead at Israel, Israel struck back with unprecedented precision. The target, the presidential palace of the Houthis, in Sana'a, Yemen. Defense Minister Katz confirmed the strike. Though Sana'a has offered no confirmation, the IDF targeted not just the presidential palace, but also a fuel depot and 2 power stations. This isn't just retaliation, it's strategic messaging. For the first time, Israel has demonstrated it can reach deep into Yemen and strike at the heart of Houthi leadership. Defense Minister Katz was unequivocal. For every missile they launch at Israel, they will pay many times over. Prime Minister Netanyahu, speaking from the Air Force Command Center in Tel Aviv, pledged, "We will continue striking anyone planning to attack Israel." This represents a fundamental shift in Israel's defense strategy. No longer content with passive defense, Israel is taking the fight directly to its enemy's leadership centers. The significance cannot be overstated. The Houthis had never before used a cluster bomb warhead in their attacks on Israel. This escalation demanded a proportional response, one that would deter future attacks. General Harel Knafo explained the strategic rationale. The only way that the Middle East responds is under massive pressure. If they know that they're going to die, and they may want to die as shahidim or as martyrs, that is the context here. This strike sends a clear message to Iran and its proxies. Israel will not tolerate attacks on its territory, no matter the distance. The timing is critical. As Israel prepares for its major offensive on Gaza City, it needed to neutralize the Houthi threat from the south. Dr. Dan Diker, president of the Jerusalem Center for Security Affairs, confirmed the combination of the strangulation campaign against Hamas with the full pressure campaign around Hamas is going to bring Hamas to the table. This Yemen strike is part of that broader pressure campaign, a demonstration that Israel can strike anywhere, anytime. The implications extend far beyond Yemen. This capability signals to Hezbollah in Lebanon and Iran itself that no location is beyond Israel's reach. One intelligence analyst, who asked to remain anonymous, explained this isn't just about Yemen, it's about deterrence across the entire region. The message is clear: attack Israel, and we will find you. The Houthis have fired over 40 missiles at Israel since the Gaza war began. Each attack has been met with increasingly precise and damaging counterstrikes. This latest response, the destruction of the presidential palace, represents a significant escalation in Israel's response protocol. No longer targeting military installations, Israel is now striking at the symbolic heart of Houthi governance. The message is unmistakable. There will be consequences for attacks on Israeli territory, and those consequences will escalate until the attacks stop. Meanwhile, as Israel demonstrates its long-range strike capabilities, it strengthens its negotiating position on multiple fronts. With the Syria deal advancing, and Lebanon moving toward Hezbollah's disarmament, Israel is executing a masterful multi-front strategy. The Yemen strike isn't isolated. It's part of a coordinated campaign to secure Israel's borders through strength and deterrence. As General Knafo warned, the only real option that Israel has right now is to do what Prime Minister Netanyahu is doing, which is to push forward with all force against Hamas. This Yemen strike exemplifies that approach, meeting aggression with overwhelming precise force. The Houthis now face a stark choice: cease attacks on Israel, or face increasingly devastating consequences. For Iran, watching its proxy suffer direct strikes on its leadership compounds the pressure already mounting from Israel's advances on other fronts. This is the new Middle East reality Israel is creating, one where aggression is met with immediate, disproportionate response. As Netanyahu stated, the entire region is learning from Israel's strength and determination. The Yemen strike proves that learning is happening fast. In the past, Israel's responses were measured and restrained. No more. The era of strategic patience has ended. This isn't just about Yemen, it's about establishing a new regional order, where Israel's security is non-negotiable, and aggression carries immediate, severe consequences. On June 19, 2025, during the brief but explosive 12-day war between Israel and Iran, an Iranian ballistic missile directly hit Ben Gurion University's SDE Boca campus. The impact was catastrophic. 6 major research labs destroyed, 9 severely damaged, 30 buildings impacted. Surveillance video shows the direct hit to the gymnasium, revealing the missile's devastating force. Ohana, a researcher whose lab suffered a direct hit, described the loss. Researchers and lecturers like me are mourning both the physical loss and the scientific legacy lost with them, including irreplaceable scientific work, potentially years in the making. The destroyed labs contained patient-derived biological materials and genetically engineered DNA collections, decades of work lost in an instant. Biological samples that we had, some of them were derived from human patients, and they are completely gone, Ohana explained. There is no way to bring it back. The implications extend far beyond the campus. These labs were pioneering personalized medicine with robotics, 3D printing, and AI, advancements that could have saved millions of lives worldwide. Ohana estimates it will take 2-5 years to regenerate new DNA samples and 1-2 years to rebuild custom-made lab equipment unique to their research operations. Despite the losses, the resilient community is determined to rebound swiftly, especially to support students whose projects and degrees hinge upon these shattered labs. My hope is to start doing the research as fast as possible, Ohana stated. First of all, to take care of the students. We have the knowledge. The people, thank God, are still here. This attack represents something unprecedented. Iran directly targeting Israel's scientific infrastructure, a clear attempt to cripple Israel's innovation capacity. Americans for Ben Gurion University launched an emergency campaign to address the mounting recovery needs. Doug Siesemann, CEO of Americans for Ben Gurion University, outlined the scale. We estimate close to $40 million in total damage. Siesemann noted the compounded challenges. Because of October 7th and now the Iran conflict, we have this emergency campaign that we're kind of forced into because BGU was one of 3 main institutions that were impacted by these missile attacks. This isn't just about rebuilding labs, it's about preserving Israel's knowledge economy, which has been a cornerstone of its security and prosperity. Ben Gurion University isn't just another academic institution, it's one of Israel's most important institutions for the future, producing the scientists and innovators who drive Israel's technological edge. The attack on June 19 coincided with significant impacts from October 7 on their community, students murdered and taken hostage, soldiers fighting in Gaza for hundreds of days. This double trauma, October 7 and the Iran conflict, has created an unprecedented challenge for the university community. Yet amid the destruction, a remarkable resilience shines through. Knowledge endures. People endure. Research will rise again. The attack on Ben Gurion University represents Iran's recognition of Israel's true strength, not just its military might, but its knowledge economy and innovative capacity. By targeting research labs, Iran sought to cripple Israel's future, not just its present military capabilities. This strategic insight reveals Iran's understanding that Israel's true power lies in its ability to innovate and adapt. The loss of irreplaceable biological samples and decades of research represents a direct assault on Israel's scientific heritage. Yet, as Ohana noted, we have the knowledge. The people, thank God, are still here. This is the unbreakable spirit of Israel, its ability to rebuild from ashes, to turn destruction into renewal. The emergency campaign to rebuild Ben Gurion University isn't just about restoring labs, it's about preserving Israel's capacity for innovation, which has been a cornerstone of its security and prosperity. In the face of this attack, Israel demonstrates once again why it cannot be defeated: its people's resilience, their commitment to knowledge, and their determination to build a better future, despite relentless attempts to destroy it. As Siesemann stated, Ben Gurion University is one of the most important institutions for the future of Israel. The attack on June 19 wasn't just an assault on a university, it was an assault on Israel's future. But in targeting Israel's knowledge economy, Iran revealed its greatest fear: Israel's ability to innovate, adapt, and overcome. This is the true strength of Israel, not its weapons, but its wisdom, not its military, but its mind. And no missile can destroy what resides in the hearts and minds of its people. As I write this chronicle, a new Middle East is being born, not through treaties, but through strength. Israel and Syria moving toward a security agreement after 76 years of war. Lebanon agreeing to disarm Hezbollah, the IDF closing in on Gaza City, the last Hamas stronghold. Israel striking the Houthi presidential palace in Yemen. The truth emerging about Gaza's manufactured humanitarian crisis. This isn't diplomacy, it's revolution. Dr. Dan Diker, president of the Jerusalem Center for Security Affairs, captured the moment. The only way that the Middle East responds is under massive pressure. For decades, the Middle East operated on a simple principle: weakness invites aggression. Israel's current strategy flips this on its head. Strength deters aggression. The evidence is overwhelming. Every time Israel has shown weakness, enemies have attacked. Every time Israel has demonstrated strength, enemies have retreated. General Harel Knafo explained the strategic shift. The combination of the strangulation campaign against Hamas with the full pressure campaign around Hamas is going to bring Hamas to the table. This isn't just about Hamas, it's about reshaping the entire regional balance of power. The Syria deal represents something unprecedented. Syria acknowledging Israel's right to exist and security needs without demanding the return of the Golan Heights. Dr. Nearbom explained, the parameters are relatively clear to all parties, and I think there is a chance for progress, and we should certainly pursue it. This deal could create a new regional alignment against Iran's influence, with Syria potentially joining the Abraham Accords framework. Meanwhile, Lebanon's decision to disarm Hezbollah represents a strategic victory without firing a shot. By supporting the Lebanese government's authority, Israel positions itself as a stabilizing force rather than an occupier. The Gaza offensive demonstrates Israel's willingness to finish what it started, despite international pressure and Hamas's hostage leverage. General Knafo's warning remains urgent. I'm afraid we're out of time. Time for the hostages. Time for the soldiers. Time for the truth. The truth about Gaza's humanitarian crisis is emerging. It's not caused by Israel, but by Hamas's systematic diversion of aid. Dr. Gerald Steinberg confirmed the UN has known for years about Hamas's systematic diversion of humanitarian aid, but they remain complicit by not exposing it. The Yemen strike sends a clear message to Iran and its proxies: Israel will not tolerate attacks on its territory, no matter the distance. Prime Minister Netanyahu captured the moment. The entire region is learning from Israel's strength and determination. This new Middle East isn't based on wishful thinking. It's built on demonstrated strength and strategic clarity. Senator Marco Rubio was right: rewarding terrorism with political capital only encourages more terrorism. The alternative is clear: strength, deterrence, and strategic patience. As Dr. Baum noted about the Syria deal, we need to change some of the parameters of the 1974 agreement, but we can use this as a baseline. This approach, building on existing frameworks while adapting to new realities, is the foundation of Israel's emerging regional strategy. The attack on Ben Gurion University revealed Iran's greatest fear: Israel's knowledge economy and innovative capacity. But as Dr. Ahana stated, we have the knowledge. The people, thank God, are still here. This is the unbreakable spirit of Israel, its ability to rebuild from ashes, to turn destruction into renewal. The new Middle East emerging isn't one of empty promises, but of demonstrated strength and strategic clarity. It's a Middle East where aggression is met with immediate, disproportionate response, where weakness is no longer an option, where truth, however uncomfortable, is finally emerging. This isn't the end of conflict, it's the beginning of a new era, where strength deters aggression and truth replaces propaganda. As General Knafo warned, this is Hamas. You don't have to be surprised, because in war surprise is a luxury Israel can no longer afford. This is the new Middle East reality, one where Israel's strength and determination are reshaping the region forever, and the world is finally learning its most important lesson: strength isn't the cause of war, it's the path to peace. My name is Ethan Cross, and this is War Chronicles. Have you ever wondered why wars actually happen? Wars don't end with treaties, they end with stories. With names, with mothers lighting candles in the dark. This is the chronicle of the new Middle East, of General Knafo's warning, of soldiers who've served 500 days without rest, of hostages still waiting in darkness. Don't let numbers erase their voices, because when we forget the names, that's when war truly wins.